Hello YouTube world, Crazy Eddie here, Edward John Jeski. It's Tuesday the 11th of March 2025. Subject vehicles are 2004 Subaru Forester, that's a 2.5 liter 251 series, connected to a automatic transmission, all-wheel drive. So today's topic is just a follow-up regarding whenever I put up that other video. I'm way behind on putting up videos because I ended up breaking down real sick when the weather warmed up. My body could finally break a fever. But, so this is regarding the timing belt, and what I noticed is it seems like it's doing okay. I still have questions, obviously my first time doing it, but for likewise anyone else is going to be their first time doing it, this might be beneficial. Okay, so on the upper side of the passenger's side of the belt here, I don't like that tension. But when I go down to underneath, where it's, you know, tracking over the cam, in this case it's actually going the other direction because this rotates clockwise, I try to pick it up, pick the belt up off of the this lower cam. If you can still see my hand here, you see the finger. I can't, I did it just before and decided to make a video. I can't pick it up. So that's good, because the other one I could pick it clear off of this idler. So if they're doing what I heard in my thoughts, that they're making these kits to meet several vehicles, maybe they're skimping on you know, making a little bit longer for this one, and then hoping that the tensioner can take up the slack. But this is only theoretically supposed to take up the slack over the longer period of time as the belt stretches, not right away. So now, one thing I can say, in deference to before something went wrong, all the ink is largely off, and it's like, really, already robbery. I don't like that. You know, if you compare it to, let's get these others here. If you compare it to these, your accessory belts, but obviously it's not having a roller go over the top of it, but the ink is, sorry, there we go. The ink is still on it. And here you see the glossy texture, but when you look at the, there we go, the belt bands, I don't know, it seems like that's already like as if this is maybe, you know, way premature. So even though it claims Mitsubishi and made in the USA as a Japanese company, you know, that doesn't tell us where they're making the belts, because remember, that's just where they play the avoid the tariff game. So it could very well be made in China or Taiwan or wherever, and it's just slacking on quality. I do dearly remember when I first got the car, I checked the belt, it had pure Subaru ink on it. You know, as good or better as this here. So there's, this is, for me, a major question. But when I look at the timing marks, you can see where my finger's pointing there. I think you can catch a little bit of the blue there, on the down there. You can see it, maybe. And if you look, we get lucky and get it with the camera, and see if it will focus. I think you can vaguely see off to this side, that might be the mark coming around to line up at approximately 12 o'clock, and then you can see this one easier, even though the crazy paint marker wore out. You can see it. There you go. Now you can see the notch or groove into the front of that camshaft timing sprocket. So they seem to be holding that way. I still question if it's like a half a tooth to a tooth off. I've got a really bad low end vibration, and I'm not sure if I sustained damage. I don't know if that's something that could occur like that, or if that's like a sign of the EGR having any kind of plugging in, hanging partially open. If the EGR would be hanging partially open, especially as the car warmed up, when I did have it propped open a little bit to intentionally heat up the intake because it's so damn cold, you can really get your intake nice and warm that way very quickly. But this then is a major flaw, that they got that thing sitting on there. That pack should be off somewhere to the side, that it shouldn't take all that heat, because it's not just the coil. They got igniters in there. I don't remember the alleged function of it, but that's what screws up the packs, including potentially when you want to try overgapping, running 0 ohm wires and resistor free plugs, so you can get some real power in there. But then you got a problem potentially with those damn igniters in there, so you might have to try going to MSD or whichever other brand where you got actual just plain coils. Now with this particular Subaru, when I put the sorry for the aside, when I put the 0 ohm grounded tally wires on here and some 0 ohm racing plugs, I think those were actually Autolite, so I know people are going to say something about that, but it's hard to get 0 resistor plugs. It screws up the computer. It would be like comparing to saying, and this is not where I can disprove that, this is my crankshaft position, and I just rerun the leads to the same stock. I just spliced in, there's, you can see back here, get that out of the way, you can see I just spliced into it, and here's the actual cable itself. I just got it taped off and then spliced in back, just to see if, you know, that was causing any problems, because over here they had such a brutally sharp 90+ degree blend that the insulation was cracked, and I didn't know if it was going to be good or not. So good coming out, but not sure if putting back in I'd be able to get it in without breaking the wires and causing a loss of the signal, because without that crankshaft position sensor you ain't going nowhere. That's a definitive. You can be started and lose your cam from what I remember on this car, but once you lose the timing mechanically, the computer will not send out power to the coil. So, which is a good thing in this case, that I got lucky that it just happened to stop, fortunately, at idle, because it tore the shit out of the right down by the water pump. You see the cogged or geared type roller actually fastened onto the water pump body. That's what seized up, and it blew the bearings out, blew the faceplate and the bearings out, and it just tore the shit out of the belt. The belt didn't rip, it just ripped probably about 50% or more of the teeth off. So then the position stopped, and it literally, to me, sounded, even though I was drowsy, it just sounded like if I had just turned off the key, that momentary where the car is just winding down, running out of power, is already gone, but the fuel is also being utilized. I would actually say the power, because there's enough vapor a lot of times with, I can smell it, that I got somewhere still a leaking injector, suspecting number 4. So anyhow, it's getting longer than what I had intended, but I'm just gonna send it on because I'm not that good at editing. So hopefully some of this information will be helpful to you. Try to get more bastlers and I forget what they call them for England, and tinkerers in America, I believe it is. Need a lot more people getting off the ass and stop becoming drone from the Android AI, all that kind of garbage. No one wants to do anything real anymore. But anyhow, oh, don't buy these. That's another thing. Do not buy these. I got upsold on it. This is the second one, and I still believe I'm running into issues with it, even though I had to have it recharged and tested. We only got like a year and a half off the first one, and I changed that out in summer when he tested it with his meter at the AutoZone on Cornhusker, and it was definitely bad by his meter. But then they don't want to continue to change them out either. You should be getting a minimum. And I didn't use this that much either, so, and this shouldn't be affected because I'm running it off the alternator, and I prop up the alternator to at least 2,000 RPM. So for the smaller appliances, that should not be having any effect on the battery. So if you have to do anything where you want to use an inverter, I would not suggest going to these yellow top. They used to be supposedly good, but, and they might still be good for some applications where you want to tip a battery in different angles, but otherwise, between a flooded lead acid battery and the deep cycle marine batteries are suggested by different overlanders, I guess I would call them for their own terminology. I barely get to use it. So I don't know what else, but oh yes, back to the radio frequency. If it was a radio frequency interference, I'm having a hard time buying that. I don't know what's going on, because then I should not be getting my cam signal, because this is completely unshielded. And here's the original wire, half-ass shielding job. where, you know, it's way out here. You see that open space, and it's way out here, all that open space. And this is all they do. This is actually what you, when you open up your harness, you're going to be shocked. This is the inside of your harness. What you see in here is just the inside of what was in that 1 or 2 underneath the intake. And I had to pull off the intake, I forget for what reason already, back in 2022, over there on the Baltimore side yet. But this mess, as you see it here, is actually the mess that's inside of that 1 or 2 lumen that goes underneath the intake manifold. It's nothing that I did. And this is just how they do things. All I did was pull back this little bit of here, and they give me some room, so I just use my one cutter where I can separate the insulation so I can get to a little bit of wire, and then wrapped it around and taped it up. And it works as good as theirs. So this whole concept that it's getting radio frequency interference, that's very questionable. But also questionable why my Granatelli wires and the 0 ohm resistor plugs did not work. It freaked the computer out. I was getting readings like it was a throttle position sensor, and I forget what else, but it didn't do something right. So I thought it was interfering, what do they call that, radio frequency interference in the ground plane. So it's for some of the functions that the computer does, the like the injectors, but I think there's some other ones that it does positive side control. I think the injectors might be negative side control, if I remember correctly, and then there's other things that might be positive side control, and which I guess our only other major thing aside from that is the either the coil pack or the EGR, but the EGR is normally not supposed to be, I forget when the hell that one opens up. Definitely under cruise conditions is sometime when it would open up, but I don't know if on startup, which is actually the time when you need it the most to recirculate some of that heat and get that temperature up. The shit that people believe based upon when you can have their own theory right in your face, it just absolutely amazes me how people can be thinking they're smart on one side and so dumbed down on the other, and they don't even realize it. But anyhow, so the Duralast, this is 3 kits. It took 3 kits. The first one came, first time ever supposedly, box was opened. They claim that was the first time that ever happened for a timing kit. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone there has got a bug up their ass towards me for one reason or another and actually opened up the kit and just threw the fucking parts out. Either that or there's a bad ghost or spirit as my nemesis and caused them to open it up on the FedEx, because I can't imagine that package leaving the warehouse like that. That would have never left the warehouse like that. So the second kit is the one where you already see my video up online. I've got probably like 10 more or and beyond that from other things that I don't have up online yet. So that's why I decided to do this one, so you get an idea that it is working. And yes, I have kept the cover off for the very reason of the first or second video that I put up there, where it had the real bad clapping from the tensioner roller, because the belt, to me, like I said, it was just, again, you can see the tension on this side, upper, let me see if we get it here, to me, just coming off from this side here, seems too big of a gap there. Looks like they could have done more to put something in there to take up that tension. But anyhow, I'm still less experienced than others, and they may have a different opinion and feedback, which is good. That's why we make these videos. So one thing, if anyone can chime in, why in the hell do I get such a shitty reading on the stick? It didn't happen until I went over the road. It was fine, and I stopped along the way at a place, and then I was bone dry. It was completely empty. I get split reading on the stick. It's driving me crazy. I just don't comprehend this. Yesterday it's like way up to here, and now look at this. I can't get from one front to the back of the stick. I cannot get a consistent reading. Look at that shit. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't know if something was done previously and there's some kind of buildup of material that I got to put the stick in backwards to get a reading, and this time too I had like 0 on it when I just pulled it. I opened the cap, let it break any pressure and or vacuum, excuse me, and then I get a different reading. So I don't know, I never had that reading on conventional motors. So anyone who can chime in on that, make a video, that would be a great thing. Thank you so much. Thank you. Please support 531-350-8209. Under the gun from Social Security. I'm one of the few that actually tries to make something of myself despite deathly sick. Not of my own doing either, may I stress that. And if they got money for stupid shit like cow fart burps, cow fart and burp studies, then they got money to give us back for the damage that's been done to us as a result of different factions invading and just pure crappy system when you're working. I originally got injured on the job back at Level Valley Dairy back in my teens, 84 through 86 time frame. I'm being cheated of quarters, I believe, and I'm being cheated of full disability. And I desperately need it because even though I've learned a lot, the diet today is seemingly a lot more deficient. If you drive anywhere across the country, you're going to see soils that it's desert and desert. Thank you so much. Please support Eddie Sasquatch at proton.me. Thank you. Bye.